Hey, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Level Up Podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Petronovitch, joined by my co-host, Kelley Gilster.
Hello, everyone. How are you? How are you, Taylor?
I'm doing great. I feel like we're starting to get into fall. I haven't quite broken out the Halloween decorations yet, but it's coming. I've definitely swung by Starbucks and gotten a few seasonal pumpkin-y drinks, so I feel like my very basic girl self is happy with with the coming of the fall season. How are you, Kelley?
I'm good. We just came off of this crazy heat wave in California. Taylor, did you experience that in Northern California? How hot it
I
was?
It's been like
literally.
100 for us like all summer basically, so I
Okay.
don't even
Okay.
notice.
Here where I am in Southern California, 100 is, 90 is like a lot for us, but it has been consistently 100 degrees for an entire week. I feel like I live in Arizona, and it literally today it dropped 30 degrees. So we're back in the 70s where we belong in Southern California, and it looks like it's going to be in the 70s for the foreseeable future. So I am also happy it feels like fall, even though 77 isn't really fall. It feels like that way after a week long of 100 degrees. But I feel like you're a big Halloween person. Am I right?
I really do like Halloween. I like fall and Halloween and like basically anything that happens between the months of October and December 31st. I'm like a fan about. I love all holidays, but yeah, I think Halloween is so much fun. I am the kind of person who has like bins and bins and bins of decorations that I've accumulated throughout the years. And I like to break it out for sure. Oh my God. Okay. It's in the 70s for you. It's like 87 here. And I'm like, oh, thank God we're having some reprieve from this heat.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah, I mean, there's days over the summer where it's like 112, 114. Like it's like wild here in like the Sacramento area. Do you have air conditioning?
I do. We do.
Okay,
Yeah. And
good.
it's
Okay.
good. Like when we bought our home was actually like a flip. So it's a home, like a ranch style home built in the 50s. We absolutely love it. But it was done by a flip. Fun fact, actually, the couple who flipped the home was engaged at the time, and then we bought the home, and 6 months later they inquired with us to shoot their wedding. It
Oh
didn't
my
end up working
gosh.
out, but I thought that was just really, really funny. So they put in like this crazy great AC, and so that thing is just kicking. What about you?
That's amazing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We definitely have
You have
AC.
to.
I mean, yeah, for sure. But I grew up in the Bay Area and we did not have AC. So I feel like the weather is probably similar to Southern California. Like it's a little bit more coastal, very
Yeah.
much like, so I actually grew up in the same city where like Sonoma State University is. It's like Roanoke Park. It's like nobody knows where that is until you say Sonoma State. But yeah, it's pretty mild and no AC. So when those 100-degree days did come
Yeah.
around, you're just keeping the windows open and crossing your fingers, and that's just how it goes. So I love air conditioning. Very happy to have it. Um,
I'm so glad that all the listeners got to hear about our air conditioning journeys and origin stories of air conditioning right now.
Well, you know what? Okay, so I actually did see a beautiful segue and I missed the opportunity. So you said the people who sold our house to us then inquired with us 6 months later. And I feel like that's actually very topical for today's conversation because we are bringing on Austin Trenholm of Trenholm Photo. And in this conversation, we talk about luck and kind of understanding where to put yourself in order to have those lucky inquiries or lucky business moves kind of come your way with more frequency and being able to see them through to the end. So I feel like that's a good segue. There we go.
I love it. Yes, our conversation was so great because I feel like over my last 14 years, there's been opportunities where I myself have even looked at fellow creative partners and said like, wow, they just got so lucky. Or you kind of start to throw yourself like a little pity party. Like, why am I unlucky? Why isn't that stroke of luck thrown my way? And the thing is that luck is really just, opportunity and preparedness. Like meeting together and forming that luck. And so Austin talks a lot about that. His journey over 20 years in the industry. He started shooting weddings when he was 18, 19 years old. He first picked up a camera when he was 14, and now he's been in the industry for 20 years. He's never felt more fulfilled and more happy with where his business is. And I think that that is just really inspiring to hear that you can have a business for 2 decades and sometimes there's some turns taken along the way and there's some frustrating seasons, but you can come out of those and really build the business of your dreams like Austin has. And so we're really excited for you to hear this one.
Yeah, 20 years in the industry, I just feel like is such a feather in the cap, and it's something that so many of us are striving for. Actually, so when I'm looking at the analytics within our podcast, our top listened to episode, top downloaded episode is titled something along the lines of like how to have like successful longevity in your business. This is from like 3 or 4 years ago. And so I know people are interested in this idea of longevity. And if you want to be successful long term, have a business that is not only really financially successful, but also artistically successful and fulfilling, we would love to invite you to check out our course, which is now available year-round. It is called the Luxury Framework. And basically in there, we walk you through the steps that you need to take in order to take your wedding photography or filmmaking business from the Main Street market successfully into the luxury market. We really leave no stone unturned. We talk about understanding the luxury market, branding, social media, website, how to build planner relationships, how to interact within the luxury market and conduct yourself. Like literally everything you need to know is there at your fingertips and in this course. So before we get to the interview, I just want to share where you can find that. That is at thelevelupco.com/the luxury framework. Or if you just go to levelupco.com, it'll be linked in multiple places. So you'll never be able to, or you won't be able to miss it. You'll find it easily. But we just wanted to make sure we had that available to our listeners. If you're ready to begin taking that journey today, you can start that. So without further ado, we are going to get into our interview with Austin. This is the Level Up Podcast. I'm Taylor Petronovitch.
And I'm Kelley Gilster of 618 Studios.
And we are on a mission to help wedding filmmakers and photographers level up their businesses so you can make more and work less.
We want to help you confidently take your business from mainstream to luxury, and it all starts right here. Well, hello, everybody. We are excited to have Austin Trenholm on the podcast with us this week. Austin, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. We just met like 10 minutes ago, but you and Taylor had a chance to connect at Engage Nemacolin back in June. And so I'm glad that you came on and joined us.
Yeah, me too. Engage Nemacolin. My goodness, what an experience that was.
Yeah, it was really special. It was a lot of fun, and it was actually kind of funny. I had a few people like ask me like, "Oh, what are your goals going to Engage this time?" And I was like, "I'm kind of on level up duty. I'm like seeking out like new guests and stuff." So I'm glad that panned out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's super cool. Don't you love when you can be at an event like that and not just be hyper focused on, weddings and whatever the normal goals are? It's nice when you can have like something outside that's fun.
It felt very freeing, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, totally.
Amazing. Okay, so we have a really amazing conversation in store for you, dear listeners. Austin has come with his A game in terms of topic ideas. And so before we get into that, though, I'll leave you on the edge of your seat. We would love to hear a little bit about you, Austin, and how you got started in the industry, a little bit about your background, whatever you're willing to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started doing photography as a hobby when I was like 14 or 15 years old. My dad got me a camera. And long story short, I spent a summer in New Mexico, not for any bad reasons in particular. My twin sister got into a summer education program at a private school that I did not get into. And then my dad took a job for the summer in Florida, which is not where we lived at the time. And so he needed somewhere to send me. So I went and lived with my aunt in New Mexico, which was super fun. And then he knew I was into photography, so he bought me a camera, and then I've been doing photography ever since. And fast forward 20 years.
Amazing.
So now I've been doing weddings forever, professionally, basically since I was like 18 or 19 years old. And now I'm 38 in like a week. So here we are.
Oh,
That's
happy
cool.
birthday.
Yeah. So 20 years in the industry. Are you still loving it? Like, are you feeling like the same way you felt about it when you were 18, 19? Like, tell me about the longevity that you've experienced.
Yeah, it's been definitely ups and downs for sure. I am loving it more now than ever, but I have not always felt that way through my career. Um, in fact, like in the beginning when I was shooting weddings, it was really just sort of for money. Um, I just needed something to do. I thought I wanted to be a fashion photographer. I moved to California and went to Brooks for a couple of months and then ended up dropping out. And I sort of had this like winding journey with photography and started doing weddings for money and then realized how much I loved it. And in that journey, you know, I moved back to New Hampshire where I'm from originally, sort of started a career there. It took a long time to get off the ground. This is back in like 2006, 2007, 2008. The industry was a bit different back then. Like YouTube was different. The idea of like photo education and business education was much smaller. And also like just, again, the industry was so different and changing so much that there wasn't that much helpful information available. So I had like a slow go of it. And I moved to Florida. And when I moved to Florida, I actually almost quit wedding photography, to be honest with you, because I got here and I realized everyone locally was like, in my opinion, so much better than me. And not only so much better than me, but just so much further along in their career than I was. And I think part of that was because I had come from New Hampshire, which was this very, very, very small sort of like in a time bubble market of weddings. And I never grew. I just only grew like, it's like a fish, right? They grow the size of their environment. You can have a koi fish that's teeny tiny, or you can have like the huge ones. And I was a very small koi fish. So yeah.
That's so interesting. So your like mindset and like the awareness of the industry of a whole just wasn't there.
It was not there. And it was a very fast awakening to come down to a place like Southwest Florida where, you know, not only is the market just physically larger, but there's just more money. And then the South, like being in the South is so much different than being up north. And then also not only that, I was in like the north of New Hampshire. So like there's just, it's just not the same. Like, so people's sense of image and like events alone, like just how much money people spend on like birthday parties or sweet 16s or bat mitzvahs is totally different in the South. And so I got here and I felt very overwhelmed and pretty down, to be honest. And so I almost quit. And then I just kind of said, well, I don't really have too many other options. And so I just started practicing, getting better, trying to figure out what everyone else was doing better than me, trying to just work on my own image. Now I'm a much more well-rounded, fully aware person in the industry. And yeah, moving away from my little small town was hard, but I did make it through it. And now, yes, I am like, honestly, so happy with what I'm doing right now. So
yeah. Hopefully you don't just jinx it right there,
exactly.
but amazing. So tell us a little bit about what your business is looking like sitting here in 2024. Where are you primarily serving? What's your price point like? How many are you capturing a year? Things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, this year is kind of a big transition year for me. So I do. So my goal for 2025 is to do something like 35 weddings. I don't
Wow.
really, yeah, I know. I don't really have a very strong or like healthy anchor point on the number of weddings that I want to do because it's been so different for so many years. So for instance, in 2020, 2021, and 2022, I did like 50 plus weddings each of those years for multiple reasons, part of which was COVID. Tons of people ended up relocating their weddings to Florida. So there was a huge boom. And I just sort of wanted to capitalize on that, both on, you know, just because, and then also because COVID itself sort of scared me into thinking, okay, I need to like work as much as I can. And then also like my price point has changed drastically in the past, honestly, in the past like year and a half, and also just in the past like 4 months, to be honest with you.
Wow.
To accommodate for like the demand and sort of like, I'm going through a lot of like growing pains right now, good growing pains, but fast growing pains.
So what does that look like? Are you willing to talk details?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now my price point is basically it's sort of a flat price point, but it changes depending on the event and location. But it's like $1,000 an hour is my base. So if you get married in like Southwest Florida and Naples, it's $8,000 for 8 hours, and then $1,000 an hour beyond that. And then I kind of keep that same price point for destinations, except I change the minimum, right? So if it's New York City and like sort of like, I don't know, midsummer month, my minimum might be like 12,000. If it's someplace a little bit more like travel prohibitive, so like Block Island or like the mountains, those places are like more difficult, more annoying to get to, and just require more time. I might make the minimum 15,000 instead of 12,000 just to accommodate. And then I typically won't charge a travel fee beyond that amount. That's sort of like the built-in travel fee. It's just you have to get me there and pay that minimum. And then if it's something like Mexico or like a resort style thing, that's different. Then the client will end up paying for the travel, the accommodations and things like that, in addition to whatever my chosen minimum is. But it floats around $1,000 an hour. So like for my local bookings, my average is anywhere from $10,000 to $12,000. And then for destination bookings, average is anywhere from honestly like $14,000 to $18,000. Some are a little bit more, some are a little bit less, but yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I like that.
cool.
I think that photography pricing is like a little bit more straightforward than video pricing because the range of deliverables isn't quite as extensive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's great. And congratulations on like the high demand and the increase in pricing and all of those good things. And I mean, at 35 weddings, although that sounds like a lot to Kelley and myself, like, I mean, that sounds like maybe it's going to be a little bit more of a work-life balance year for you.
Yeah. Well, so what's interesting is 35 feels like a huge break, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like 35 just feels like half as much as I was doing before. So it feels like no problem at all.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, for me anyway, and with a lot of photographers now are catching up, but I have a very efficient, very easy workflow. So it really only takes me about, honestly, like 3 to 4 days to deliver a wedding. Like the edit is so easy, especially now with AI editing and just like I have a whole streamlined system. I have a custom controller that I've made that like makes editing easy. Like things that would normally take 5 or 10 keystrokes only take 1 keystroke. So yeah, the weddings don't have nearly as much back work as like video. And then yeah, with video, just like everything about video, honestly, I don't know how anyone does it.
It is
so much work.
heavy lifting on the post-production side.
And on the day.
That's true. We have a lot of gear that we're trucking around. Well, that's so cool to hear about like your journey and now that you're so happy with where you are now. Like, I think that's so encouraging to listeners who are maybe only into like year 3, year 5, feeling like, oh, I should have figured it all out by now. Or like, why am I feeling burnt out? And it might just be because like you haven't really found that market that really fills your cup and makes you feel creatively inspired. And in those first few years, like we are just trying to figure it out. Like what's your capacity? Or like, what do you like doing? Like, do you want to be doing like heavy destination work? Do you want to stay more local? Like, what's that balance? Can you kind of share like, what is your ideal balance? Like, how much do you want to be local? How much do you want to be traveling? Do you have like a preference either way? Yeah,
absolutely. So it's funny, of course, it's like anything, right? So it depends on when you ask me. If you ask me in 6 months, my answer will be different than it is right now. I've just been traveling like all summer so much that I am absolutely like ready to be done with it. I have a wedding this weekend in Connecticut and then a wedding the following weekend in Virginia. And then I have like 2 or 3 weeks off and I'm so excited about it. And then after that, the rest of my weddings for the year are like local to Florida. So, you know, for myself, like personally, I would love if I could sustain the kind of like bookings that I'm getting right now with like lots of local work. But the reality is I just can't do that. So, you know, I'm very excited to be in this new market where I'm booking higher end clients and sort of like bigger budgets. But because of that, it just means a lot more destination work. And so that's one reason why I said, okay, if I'm going to do all this destination work, there's no way I can do 40 or 50 weddings a year. I can do like 30 to 35 probably. And then, so like, you know, would I love a lot more local weddings at a higher budget? Absolutely. And if that happens, I'll totally, you know, tackle that and sort of stay local. But the reality is that that's just not the case. So right now it's probably something like, it's hard because it's changing. Like, again, this past 4 months has just been like wild and I'm changed my bookings are, but something like 60% local, 40% destination. But honestly, like just, I have so many contracts out for destination events that would normally be local dates. So in 6 months, it might be flipped, it might be 40, 60. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you live in like a prime location too to be able to like have a full like 12-month wedding season. Like Florida peak is probably most people's like off season. So being able to maybe travel more during those summer months and then stay local during like winter. I feel like that's kind of like a nice little groove. I wish we had that. We're both California based. So I mean, well, Kelley, in Southern California, you have a bit more of a wide wedding season, but for me it was really like May through October for me, and like sometimes some outliers outside of that, but it's pretty rare.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a blessing and a curse because it allows me to work a lot.
Yeah.
But then it allows you to work a lot.
Never ends.
I work a lot, but I mean, it's one of those things where I have to try and gain perspective in both directions. I've been really happy with the choice to do what I need to charge more and book less. I'm absolutely thrilled, and I can say I wish I'd done it earlier, but at the same time, everything happens when it can.
Yeah.
But that being said, I also am I like to work. I don't mind a lot of work. The whole idea of work-life balance, I mean, even with as much as I do work, even when I was doing 50 weddings a year, I get so much quality time at home with my kids that I actually still feel like I get more time than most of my friends who are like professionals, whether that's in like tech or the medical field. A lot of them, like, they leave at like 7 a.m. and don't get home till 6 every day. Whereas during the week, like, I'm Mr. Mom, like, I'm driving my kids to school and picking them up and I'm cooking dinner. So I do try to count my blessings and think like, okay, yes, it's a lot of work, but it could be worse.
Yeah. No, that's such good perspective to have too, because I think that we were just recording, this is last week's episode, but we talked about like how sometimes the grass always seems greener on the other side. Like, oh, it would be so nice to be able to be home every weekend with my kids or whatever it may be. But the truth is that the grass is green where you water it. And if you're making the most of what you have available to you in your unique situation, then like you actually have the greener grass, So I think that's wonderful. Shifting gears really quick, I want to make sure we make time for the topics that you would kind of like mapped out for us because they're just so good. And that's not true for everybody, so I don't say that lightly. So you brought up this like concept of luck. What is your like philosophy on this when it comes to the wedding industry?
Yeah, I mean, with the wedding industry and just life in general, I listen to a lot of podcasts about business and, whatever the topic is. And there's this concept of luck. And it's interesting because people discount or they don't really, even myself included, I could really get frustrated in my life and different parts of my career with how things were going. And then, hear a story about how something happened for someone else and just think, gosh, they just got lucky. Everyone's getting I guess you just have to get lucky. And I think that that's true. I think that luck is like a hugely important, role in success. But what I failed to realize and what I now realize is that if you're just prepared for luck,
yes,
you can really just capitalize on those moments. And then all of a sudden, you see lucky moments a lot more often and you feel less discouraged when they don't pan out. So, things happen all the time and I'm not always on the right side of luck. Sometimes things don't go my way, but because I'm much more prepared now than I used to be, it just seems like, and I'm sure it looks like to everyone on the outside, I just get lucky a lot. So I think that luck is really important and you can't discount the fact that things are outside of your control, but you can sort of be ready and build up muscle memory so that when you recognize a lucky situation, you can capitalize on it. So yeah, I think.
Can you share an example? Like, I would love to hear. Okay.
There's a really good one. He might be mad that no, he won't be mad that I share this. Okay. So like, Engage, right? Engage is like a hugely luck rich environment, right? So I think placing yourself at an event like Engage or at any other sort of industry event around people you may want to work with or, and just again, placing yourself in a bigger pond with bigger fish than you are, you're going to get luckier than if you're just sitting in a cafe in Starbucks. And so I remember years ago, I think it was my first Engage. I was at Nizook and dancing, having a good time. And then I saw Eric McVeigh on the dance floor and I had not met Eric, actually. I had not even spoken to him yet, but he is friends with my friend Cody. And so I don't know, something happened where he and I were just like on the same level and like, this is so silly, but like, I saw him and we were dancing and like the song was right. And I like ran up to him and he lifted me up like it was Dirty Dancing. And, like,
Oh
spun
my
me around. It was
gosh,
very
I
silly.
love it.
It was very, very silly. It was very silly. And like literally put me down and like then like just went somewhere else and hung out with my friends and literally said not a word to him. And then and then fast forward a few months, we do connect, we do speak, and we end up approaching him about doing a Good Light Presets collaboration. And he was like, I was like, I don't know if you remember me. He's like, of course I remember you. I spun you
I
around
lifted you on the dance
Mexico.
floor.
I was like, oh my gosh, of course. And like little moments like that sort of are ways of connecting. And this goes back to the other part of the topic that I had, which is having fun. I think luck and fun oftentimes go hand in hand. I think when you're having fun, that's when luck sort of like ends up appearing in front of you. Too many people are sort of like walking around in this idea of networking and like networking mode and like hustling all the time. And again, I think that's great. I think hustling, working hard is really good. But I think sometimes we just have to like, something I've learned through the industry and also like having kids and stuff like that is just like, forget about everything, just have fun and let yourself, you know, be shown in its like most genuine form. And then all of a sudden people will connect with you and you're like, wow, that was so lucky. And it's like, well, actually you were just having fun. And then, you know.
Yeah. It's like putting out like a higher frequency, like into the world, and like you attract good things that way. I'm not like hugely into like manifestation or anything. But I think that there's some truth to like how that works. Like you put out good vibes and good vibes come back. And I'm remembering, so growing up, my best friend's mom used to just always win like concert tickets from calling into like radio stations. Like it was like insane. It was like 4 or 5 times a year. Like
Wow.
just like so many, like how could one person be so lucky so many times, like year after year after year? And then, but you have to think like, how many times was she calling the radio station? Like nobody else put in that effort or like tried that hard or put themselves in the situation to get lucky. So it's sometimes it's like the amount of reps and like knowing where to put yourself in order to like maybe get selected, right? And I feel like that's kind of engaged. Like if you are, just hanging out in your hotel room until late in the morning and then going to the hotel room really early in the evening and not leaving like margin or room in your day to like connect with people, or if you're not out on the dance floor and you're like huddled against the wall like a wallflower, or if you're not at the bar trying to mingle, like you're just not putting yourself in the situation to meet people, right? Like and I feel like you can't walk away being disappointed because you didn't put yourself in that position. And I think that's true with weddings, like sometimes forming relationships with planners on Instagram or getting the good shots. Like how many shots have we all taken where we're like, we thought it would be like really, really epic, and then it turned out to like be not so good. But like over time, like you put yourself in the position to try to like get lucky, and you will hit it. Like you'll hit, like, I don't know. I feel like there's a baseball analogy in there somewhere, but I can't quite get it.
I'm the wrong person to ask. I absolutely don't like baseball. But yes, I know exactly what you mean. There is just this numbers game, and combining the numbers with your attitude and just sort of like having fun in the world. Yeah, that's when luck appears. And yeah, like you said, like I'm not really like into woo woo, but I can say that things like body language, things like the energy you put out, are sort of like, I think, the real world version of manifestation. And, you know, people can like really read you quickly. We're mammals, we pick up on social cues, and yeah, just like being able to be someone that is approachable, and then again, delivering. Like if you get to the wedding, taking all the pictures, and you know, my portfolio is just literally a collection of lucky moments. But now I'm able to just by some chance get lucky moments just about every wedding because I have that muscle memory, and I sort of am prepared for those lucky moments. And so I think like whether it's literally doing the job and taking the pictures on the wedding day, waiting for lucky moments, or being at Engage and being like ready for a lucky moment, and all the way down to quite literally like it's happened to me like standing in an elevator or like at the Delta Lounge or like wherever, you know, someone's there, you strike up a conversation, and it just so happens that, oh wow, like yeah, my daughter's getting married here, blah blah blah. You're a wedding photographer? Oh wow, you're actually pretty good. I'll take this. And then all of a sudden you book this wedding, and it's like, how'd you get that? And it's like, I don't know, some dude was at the Delta Lounge, and you know, like it's just like, but again, like you have to. I hate to use the word manifestation because it does sound a little woo woo, but you kind of have to just like learn how to put yourself in the right mindset to do it.
Yeah, it's like opening yourself up to like receive, kind of. Yeah.
And if you're putting yourself in the Delta Lounge, there's a good chance that that person can afford you, probably.
That's true. Yeah, there it is. Exactly right. Yeah, there is
There
a
you
funny.
go.
Yeah, like when I first moved to Florida, and I was feeling really down on myself, and I sort of made this decision: I'm going to get better, I'm going to improve, and I'm gonna make it work. I'm going to do well. One of the things that I did was I went and got a yoga membership at the like most expensive, foofiest yoga studio I could find in Naples, and I just went and started doing yoga because specifically I was like, well, this is going to be where my ideal clients hang out, and I just want to go, again, be ready for some luck. So it's a combination of like placing yourself in the lucky moment, and that yoga studio is no different than going to Engage. Like that's exactly a room full of people, who I could potentially work with. And so I just went and had fun and made myself approachable, and eventually someone hired me, and that was like literally like a breakout client for me in Southwest Florida. So
That's amazing. It's just like areas, like if anyone's listening, think of areas in your life where networking can be at your local bougie yoga studio or things like that. Like it doesn't always have to look in a way of placing ourselves in this box within just something that's specific to the wedding industry. Like we can serve people out in lots of different areas of places. We had Erin Taylor, who's with Bustle Events out in kind of Taylor's area. And when she was starting her business, she joined, it was like I'm going to totally botch this, but basically she would go to this networking event that was for interior designers and like people like that. And she was like a up and coming wedding planner, but she was like, my ideal client is someone who is like in interior design, or they're architects, or they're in this type of area. Like, why not just be in the room with these people? And I'm like, that is so smart.
So smart. I love that.
Yeah, I love that. There's this quote, we've been saying all the things, but like there's actually like a philosopher that says luck is what happens when preparedness meets opportunity. So like that opportunity has to come your way, but you have to be prepared in order to recognize that it is an opportunity. And then I think that's when luck is formed.
Yeah, totally. And I think the other half of that is not getting so emotionally destroyed when the luck doesn't go your way, or heaven forbid you actually just have like bad luck, because that happens too. And I think part of capitalizing on luck is not letting the moments that do slip away hurt you. I mean, that's happened to me. Gosh, like this again. I mentioned this past few months about me changing my pricing and opportunities. I've had these like what you might consider like really bad luck situations pop up, but actually I was, again, changed my mindset and like turned them into positive energy. What can I learn from this? How can I change? And then like literally the next couple weeks after that, turned it into huge gains. So, I mean, there's just like, there's always two sides of a coin, but yeah, good luck, bad luck, just recognizing what luck is really kind of a good life skill.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm like picturing like Bob Ross, like getting a little bit of paint, like askew on and like, now that's just a little bird. It's just a little bird in the sky. Like you could do that with business too. Like, absolutely. I don't know. I truly feel like if somebody who's listening to this, if you've like mastered this, like growth mindedness as a human, you will look at life as like there's either winning or there's learning. Like there's really no failures. Like failing doesn't even exist because there's always something to gain from it. Yeah. And I think if you can kind of embrace that concept, or if I just said that and you're listening to this and you just cringed and you're like, ooh, that is not me. Like I might be a Debbie Downer sometimes. Like it's good. That's an area that you can like work on growing, and you'll just be happier for it. And like we've been talking about, like being happy and open, like you'll bring in those lucky moments. Don't laugh. Okay. So I would love to, before we kind of like wrap up, maybe we'll go another 15 minutes or so, but you talked also
it's
about,
already been 30 minutes.
I know.
Right?
It just feels fast. Like we're like out to coffee, just like gabbing away. Sorry, it's great. Go ahead. No, it's fabulous. So using competition and like what competition means to you, because I think that again, like there's some people who are growth minded and they like embrace competition, and there's some people who maybe lean towards that like scarcity side of things. So what is your take on that?
Yeah, it's sort of like what you just said. So you just mentioned if you're not winning, you're learning. And I think that's basically a hugely like powerful way to think about competition. there's the whole like community over competition mindset that's very popular to talk about right now, which is totally great. Like you should sort of value community over competition, but I think it sort of throws the idea of competition in a very negative light, or sort of almost like eliminates the idea of competition. And I think that that's just not helpful or realistic. We have competition, like we are vying for the same clients, or we are potentially vying for the same clients. So, you know, with competition, if you're not winning, you're learning. Every booking that I don't get, you know, is an opportunity for me to say, okay, why didn't I get this booking? What could I do differently in the future? Why did this person get this booking? You know, one of the things that I was just talking about where I've had this like string of bad luck, I've had like 5 or 6, I think it's actually 6, like dream planners and dream weddings come my way. A lot of it from like networking at Engage and things like that, all for dates that I'm already booked for weddings that are great. But like, again, it was a very obvious contrast to where I was at and where I could be. And so that is what motivated me to say, okay, these losses are going to, instead I'm going to say, what am I going to do in the future? Number one, I'm going to change my pricing. I'm going to be more picky. I'm going to keep these dates open longer, blah, 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 blah. And then literally, I mean, this sounds so silly. I hate even saying it because it doesn't always work out this way. But like the next 4 inquiries I got, I threw out my much higher pricing, 0 pushback, booked within like 4 days each, and boom. And I'm like, oh my God, why didn't I do that before? But again, like it's one of those things where also recently there was a client who had inquired with me for a wedding, a really wonderful wedding. They ended up not booking me, which is totally fine. That happens a lot. But then it turns out through one of my friend group chats, I found out that one of the other people that I'm friends with had booked this wedding, and that person charges like astronomically more than me, like in like a stratospheric level of you know, price point. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And it's sort of, again, it's one of those things where that competition, I realized, okay, I didn't even realize I was in potentially competition with that person. And maybe I'm not as in competition with them, but at the same time, I did get an inquiry from a client that was also inquiring with them, and they went with them. So yes, I didn't book it, but it's like one of those things where I say, okay, maybe this allows me to readjust what my definition of my business is, and like, you know, where I'm at. And this gives me the confidence I need to push forward, because every time I've ever raised my prices, it's this like scary few months. And then you book a bunch of weddings and all of a sudden it's not scary anymore. And, you know, this time even less so. And so, you know, I think that one of the reasons it took me as long as it did to get where I'm at is because I didn't have any competition. I lived in New Hampshire. There really was a very small market there. And, you know, I was only rising to the level of the competition around me, and which was almost non-existent. So I think that being able to get yourself around people who, if you have a certain mindset, might be like intimidating, or you might think that you're not as good as, but I think the value there is once you get in the room with them and talk to them, you realize they're just people just like you. And a lot of them are struggling with the same struggles you have. And so it sort of wakens you up to say, okay, I can do this. If this person's doing this, I can do this. Or you might say, wow, this person is much better at these things than I am. I need to get better. Either way, you're learning. So, you know, competition, I think, is a valuable a definition of something to hold on to, and not to just sort of say, oh, community over competition. I don't believe in competition. Well, okay, that's fine. But, you know, we're still technically in competition with each other.
Yeah, it exists. Like whether you think it's a bad thing or a good thing, it exists. It's just like what you do with it. Like you can sulk all you want if you lose out to somebody, or you can, cheer them on and then use it as a growing mechanism for yourself. I think that's great. And I mean, I want to say maybe this last weekend or the week before, Peyton Frank just shot a wedding here in Northern California. And actually I had a client consultation with that client a year ago, and Peyton charges like twice as much as me. And I'm like, oh dang, like I'm being put up against her. That's great. Like, that's actually cool. I'm so flattered.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a huge boost to know that that's happening.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think all of us are predisposed to think that we're getting turned down based off price point, and generally speaking because we're too expensive. But that, like your story and like this situation with me and Peyton, like it's like that's very clearly paints the opposite picture. Like that's not always what it is, especially in the luxury space. I feel like sometimes being the cheapest option is actually a bad thing.
But
they're looking at
Yeah, it's not pricing led. Like with that type of clientele, like you said, like you're like, oh my gosh, they charge astronomically more than me and they booked them. Like, I think a lot of times we're hindered by this mainstream mindset where it's like, oh, price, price, price. Everyone's looking for the best deal. And that's really not the case as you scale into these upper tiers of the market.
Right. It could be the case if you're at a certain point in your career in which, I was for years and years and years. And that is one of the tricky things is like when you finally master and you like learn something about your business, then you like might grow into the next sector and all of a sudden none of that advice works anymore.
Which the rules flip.
The rules flip. Yeah. It's like physics. Like physics only works to a certain degree and then like, it doesn't. But exactly. It's really one of those things where once you get out of a certain market, these people, price is not the biggest issue with them or even an issue with them. It's more just like they just want what they want. And then that again goes back to competition. So in this case now, if I know that I'm sort of being cross-shopped with people who are significantly more expensive than me and they're in like the ultra luxury market, it doesn't mean I'm going to all of a sudden be an ultra luxury photographer, but it means that I know that I have a path to that direction. And it also says, okay, so if I am being compared with them or cross-shopped with them, what can I do to improve? Like if I know that this person is who they went with, okay, well, I definitely know what that person does better than me. And I know that they do this, this, and this. Okay, so I need to offer that. And so, that gives me a whole nother sort of like whiteboard of goals to tackle. And I love that. I love a challenge. Like I like being around people who make me better at something.
Yeah. Iron sharpens iron. So, surrounding yourself with that competition to just allow us to do better, be better, is super powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so I think we're getting to the end here, but I would love, Austin, to give you an opportunity to fill any gaps we may have missed. I feel like we talked about a lot, but if there's anything else that you were itching to say, we can talk about that, and then you can share where the listeners can find you to follow along.
Gosh, I don't know. I think one of the things that is really important is sort of along the lines of what we just said. It's easy to look at someone like me or whatever. There's like all these levels up you can look into the industry. It's easy to think that everyone has it all figured out. But I think like something that was helpful to me when I was figuring it out is that a lot of us are also figuring out this new thing. And so don't be afraid to, ask or whatever, or delve deeper. Again, like going back to when I was younger and doing this resources, like I know y'all have a mastermind course, stuff like that. None of that even existed when I was starting. And so like take advantage of all the resources that are available to you. If I had something like a mastermind back then, I would be at a different level now. But yeah, otherwise, no. Gosh, what am I supposed to say? Where you can find my information and stuff like that?
Yeah. What's your Instagram?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
What's your website? They can see all your beautiful work.
Yeah, so on Instagram, I'm at Trenholm Photo, and then my website is trenholmphoto.com. I'm also the co-founder of Good Light Presets, which is a whole separate preset company. And yeah, if you ever have any questions, I'm usually very quick and often way too generous with my time on Instagram, so feel free to reach out.
Thank you for joining us in today's conversation. Please help us reach more filmmakers and photographers like you by taking a screenshot and sharing it to social media. And don't forget to tag us at The Level Up Co.
And join us again next week, same time, same place, as we continue to level up the industry together.